Florida State beats Charleston Southern. What do y'all think about the way they started this game and the way that they played throughout?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles for a live edition post-game show. Florida State wrapping up against Charleston Southern. I'll have to admit, I'm not going to deny it at all. Florida State's effort today was much better than I thought it would be, more consistent. Obviously, Luke Kromenhoek was fantastic. The offensive line opened up some holes. They had 4 different running backs run for over 30 yards. Luke and Brock both played well when they had the opportunities. And one of the things I talked about in my keys to this game on Friday, Florida State's young players showed up too, especially the offensive skill guys. B.J. Gibson, Amari, Landon, Cam. Having all those young guys have success in conjunction with the young quarterbacks is fantastic. So it's a good thing to talk some Florida State football. Jump in the chat, leave some comments. I'm going to go over stats here. I got a whole bunch of things to talk about for about the next 5 minutes or so. But after that, we will most definitely get into the most important thing. And that's, hey, Florida State won a game and they showed some heart. And that's something that I know that Florida State fans have been waiting for quite a while, like finding a way to show it from start to finish. They played pretty darn hard today. So first off, I just want to give a shout out to, I know it's an embattled offensive line. They didn't play great by any stretch. They still had moments where you're like, okay, you can't have that happen. But Florida State ran the ball much better today. I know it's an FCS opponent, but again, just going by the stats, Cam Davis, 39 yards. Keziah Holm, 38 yards. By the way, shout out to him for 2 touchdowns today. Tofili, 33 yards. Luke had 31 yards. Sam Singleton had 21 yards. Brock didn't play a lot, but he had 10 yards. Everybody had positivity with it. That's something that's very important. And quite frankly, when you're a team that struggled as much as Florida State has, it's really, really important that you start showing that we can do this over and over again. Just play through adversity. They had, I want to say 2 or 3 sacks in the first half they gave up, but they still grinded it out, didn't turn the ball over and have stupid plays. The onside kick deal aside, but Florida State got a couple of turnovers. Young players just in general showing more savviness. It was nice. So here are some of the big numbers that I want to go over before I just give my own opinion. Number one, total yards. I know this is still good. There's like 20 seconds left, but 413 for the Noles, 240 of it through the air. No, Florida State hadn't had 300-yard games since last year against North Alabama. It'd been a minute, so that was important. Rushing yards, 173 for the Noles, only in the 50s for Charleston Southern. 4 penalties for 45 yards, not great, but it is what it is. First downs, Florida State had 20. They were 6 out of 10 on third down. That was the key. Something Florida State had been terrible at. Something I'd talked about for a while. Florida State finally got going on that. Total plays, actually, Charleston Southern had more. They're just over 60 to Florida State's 56, but average yards per play, Florida State is 7.4. That's solid. Average yards per completion, Florida State, here's a great stat, 15 yards per catch. You take that all day and every day on, that you want to play. So we'll go with that. Russ adjusted with sacks. Florida State, 6.4 yards per carry. That's the way it should be. Time of possession, Florida State didn't have as much, but they were chewing up the clock a lot less because they were hitting chunk yardage plays, so who cares? Sacks, 3 sacks was a little bit surprising. Florida State didn't get home, but they were trying to get the ball out of their hands. They knew they weren't going to block Florida State that much. The other disappointing thing is Florida State, 6 tackles for loss to 8 total for Charleston Southern. But those are some of the things that I saw that I found interesting. Now, a couple of other things. It is paramount that you get reps for the quarterbacks that are meaningful, that are successful, and it's over and over again. You cannot get enough volume of that with young quarterbacks. Luke starting today somewhat surprised me, but didn't shock me. I knew there was a chance of that in this game, but the way he handled it probably shocked me more. He was consistent throughout. He didn't throw the ball into harm's way a whole bunch. He got rid of the football a little quicker. He hit that throw he threw to Ja'Kai, the roll right. I mean, that's an NFL play. You'll take that every time. If you want to compare it to an NFL player, pick one, but not all NFL guys make that throw. This is a true freshman. That's his fifth game he's played, sixth game. I think it's fifth because he burned the red shirt today officially. It's his fifth. Okay. I told y'all before the season, he's got an arm. He's pretty athletic, but he even exceeded my expectations, and I've covered him the last few years. He's really improved his strength, his mobility, and his ability to just be explosive. Coming out of that throw off the right foot and just putting it on a line, that's not easy. Sometimes guys will sail that. That's a good sign. Also, the ability to run. He had a 20-yarder, I believe it was, and very happy with that. Landon Thomas and Amari. Florida State is not known as a tight end school. They don't have one. They have two, in my opinion, future NFL tight ends. That is huge. While I'm disappointed with not everything going great up front with the offensive line, the tight ends are kind of a part of that group. Them getting this experience, especially in the run game, is valuable, and Amari catching a touchdown, etc. These things are very, very important. Finally, with the offense, getting out in front and seeing what it's like to score early and play with the lead and have the ability to run or pass on first or second down changes every game. Scoring early changes every game. So good for Florida State. Defensively, a lot of young guys showed up. Let me see if I can find my best stat here. With something here. The defense had a couple of interesting notes. Like Jabril Rawls is a guy I talked about earlier this week, kind of stepping up. He had 7 tackles today. That was nice. Patrick Payton played well, 2 tackles for loss, 1.5. How about Sean Murphy? Fumble recovery, 1.5 tackles for loss, played more with the injury situation with Cryer. That's a good sign. He's got some more eligibility left. The linebackers in general, Cam Riley, Omar Graham, they were pretty good. I mean, until late in the game when Charleston Southern started moving the ball, they didn't score there at the end and finishes 41-7. But until the end, Florida State's defense just did a better job with run gap fits and just overpowering an opponent that they should. As far as the defense of the pass game, I mean, it was an obliteration. They couldn't get open. They didn't have time to throw the way they probably wanted to, and they kind of schemed it that way. Quarterback's not super accurate, just being honest. They struggled, but I was surprised that Florida State didn't get any sacks per se. But Charleston, 22 out of 32, just a whole bunch of quick stuff for the most part, trying to get the ball out of their hands. Florida State tried to chase around a guy. They could move a little bit, but Caleb was a solid guy. He had 5 carries for 10 yards. He's somewhat mobile, but Florida State just suffocated their passing game throughout most of the game, and then later on when it got a little loose and Florida State had blown it open, they got some yards. I'm going to jump into the chat here in just a second. First thing I want for anybody that's just now joining, if you get into the chat, what are your thoughts on Luke? What were your surprising points, good or bad, whatever you want? And what were your thoughts about the effort? Effort, young players, surprises. Those are the kinds of themes that I'm interested in. And of course, if you go into chat, you got something else you want to ask or comment about, fire away. So I'll get into the comments now. Warren Hester, I like the feel of today's team. Young guys look good. I think that Hester is correct. It's really difficult to say that the young players didn't kind of catch your eye. I mean, receivers, just as an example, Landon Thomas, 2 for 36. Hakeem, 2 for 35. BJ Gibson, 2 for 14. Amari, 2 for 11. Let's see, what do we got here? He had a touchdown, and so did Douglas. And the other touchdown was Hakeem. So Gibson, 14. Danzy had the 38-yarder. That was great. I love seeing the young running back get involved. He can fly. He should get the ball in different situations. Darion had a catch. Well, Wayne 1 for 10. So they tried to use a lot of different guys just in the pass game. My only disappointment is Jalen Early didn't get a play. Vastly underrated to see him get more and more reps. He might be their best young lineman, but he was out today, so that's unfortunate. Let's see here. Let's see. They played great, but I'm personally not impressed with the win over a high school team that's 1-10. I'm not disagreeing with you, Leftover. I get it, but the only thing that you can do is play well against the opponent that's in front of you. That's it. Not saying you're right, not saying you're wrong, and bringing up the comment about the high school thing, that's a bad football team, but you need to dominate them. Florida State did that. So that's something to think about. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll get into the comments again. What did you think about the young players? What did you think about the effort? the reps, all that kind of stuff. I want to hear what your thoughts are in the chat. We'll be right back on Locked on Seminoles. Have you downloaded the Game Time app yet? The Game Time app allows you to go to concerts, to plays, to baseball games, football games, whatever it is you want. Get into that app, play around with it, and find whatever game you want. Really easy with a couple of taps. And also, they have something to make it even easier. You don't even have to play around. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. In my opinion, the best thing about the Game Time app is the ability to click on a seat and see the view from your phone or your smart tablet, whatever it may be, and see the pitcher's mound, to see the play stage, to see the 50-yard line at a football game right from your phone. You get an idea what your value is. So with that being said, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Let's see here. Leftover. However, Luke looked pretty decent. It was good for his confidence. 100%. He looked more confident too, didn't he? Luke just looked like he was really ready to throw the football, get involved in the offense right from the outset. And after he hit a couple of passes, that increased. That's all you can really ask. You have to do what you have to do with young guys that give them, some easy throws, whatever. And some of them were early, and I was okay with that. But they also had some RPO stuff. They also took the shot. They didn't just run the football and throw screens and little 5-yard drag routes. That's important. We will see if Luke comes back next year. I personally would rather he stays and Brock goes to portal. Brock has never been great, in my opinion. If he leaves, we won't miss him. That's one opinion. I think you need both quarterbacks. You always need as many as you can get. Corey Hall, I guess she was right. I don't think he was going to score 30. I didn't think we were going to score 34. I picked 34-10. They won 41-7. I just knew they didn't have anything at the line of scrimmage. The size mismatch would be a problem, and eventually there'd be an avalanche. Florida State ran for, let's see, what was it? 175. Florida State's arguably the worst rushing team in the country. They ran for 175. That shows you the difference between FBS and FCS, and you got to take advantage of it. Florida State did. Let's see. Corey Hall. Norvell not going to give up play calling. Watch. I hope you're wrong. Rhinos. I wish this was the last game. They play Florida next week. No doubt about that. Corey Hall. Brock thanks you for all you have done for Florida State. Go be great somewhere else. What in the world are you talking about? Cubs 20209. We are getting destroyed next week. It could be. There's no doubt DJ Lagway does not suck. Corey Hall, no, we go lose, but not get destroyed. I don't think they'll get beat bad. I think that Florida State will probably lose if I had to guess, but Florida got beat up today against Ole Miss, even though they won the game. That's not a team that I think is capable of being consistent either. Who knows what Florida team will show up in Doak Campbell. Rhinos, honestly, I don't know how any of these players performed. Just glad they didn't lose. Let's see. Corey, you're absolutely smoked, bro. This team stinks. Let's see. Leftover. Where's Jalen Brown? Will Wayne McCoy and Elijah Moore? These guys are the I feel like will be the future as far as wideouts. Well, Wayne was punt return. He caught a pass. I don't know if Jalen's banged up or not. He might be. Elijah, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if there's an injury report on him at all. Let's see. Messiah, I like what I saw. Okay, well, I mean, there's no reason not to. Here are a couple other points about today's game that I found pretty interesting. Number one, what do you think Florida State felt like once they got up like double digits, 3 scores? Some teams will kind of let their foot off the gas, and it's easy to do that. I mean, they know they're the more talented team. That wasn't really in question coming into the ball game, but they put their foot down, and they did so within the offensive and defensive structure. They were consistent. I've been complaining about that word consistency, or lack thereof, with Florida State all season long. They showed it today. Now, I know you're saying, oh, it's Charleston Southern. That makes it easier to screw up and have a bunch of mental errors. They only have 4 penalties. They didn't have any turnovers. They didn't constantly shoot themselves in the foot on the red zone or snap the ball over the punters. Just nothing that would change the momentum of the football game. Later in the game, they give up a late touch. I could care less. Bottom line is Florida State showed consistency. When was the last time you could say that? It wasn't this season. The entire season, it's still a game. So that's kind of interesting. Corey Hall. I'm saying that Brock is going to transfer. It's a wrap. Might as well start Luke next week. He could. I'm sure Luke's going to start next week. He just threw for 3 touchdowns over 200 yards. If Brock leaves, Brock leaves. You got to start the better player. That's just the way football is. Florida State is probably going to need some kind of a quarterback in the transfer portal, even if it's a guy that doesn't expect to start. Maybe it's a guy that comes from Dartmouth or something. I don't know. But you got to have minimum 3 quarterbacks that are on scholarship. That's a low number. But that's probably where Florida State's at. So if Brock Glenn leaves, then that's what you got to do. We'll talk about the transfer portal quite a bit this next week. There's a lot of information that needs to be gleaned. I'm going to talk about some of the big name transfer quarterback guys, some of the teams that are looking at it, because it's going to impact Florida State. Even if it's a kid that Florida State's not going after, somebody else will be coming off the board. In other words, they got their guy. That's one less person you're competing with for something else. Or team, I should say. I think Florida State needs to get at least one quarterback in the portal. We'll see what they do. But Sean, every time we did something good, I had to remind myself it's Charleston Southern. That's a fair statement. I mean, it is Charleston Southern. They're terrible. Messiah. Glad Hakeem got a touchdown. He kind of reminds me of CD. Oh, wow. CD Lamb's nowhere big as Hakeem. Hakeem's over 200 pounds, but he can run like a gazelle. Andre Buggs. Luke is looking better, and the running back's looking better. This team needs to gain leadership. They have potential. Leadership's a really good point there, Andre. I think that Florida State has a veteran team, but there's no way you can tell me it was a veteran-led group. Too many things went wrong, and they weren't cured for me to think that way. So it is what it is. Let's see here. Leftover. Is there any news on OC and DC? No. Before anybody else asks, and thanks for bringing it up, way too early. Until things are just kind of announced, we're in the season. You're not going to get news until after this season. That's the way this works. With contracts, lawsuits come into play after the football season, which I know sucks. There's no fixing this, especially with the new signing day moving up to December 4th. It was like the 20th last year, I believe. It's a problem. Florida State's screwed in that regards, but let's enjoy the win today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's see. Leftover, you haven't really missed any other team news other than the injury. Jalen Early wasn't supposed to play today. I don't think Brown had a catch today. There's nothing major other than that. I know Ventrell didn't play, but obviously Quindarius is pretty darn good. I think they're in a good spot. Other team news, it's just kind of the waiting game. I think this week, on your point about coaches, I'll bring this up. This is really important and sad, but really important. Florida State is the first one out of the gate, other than Oklahoma, They fired their OC. God, that guy was terrible. But I don't think Oklahoma's in a very good spot either. Now, that's a tradition-rich program. It's a big brand. They got a lot of money. It's Jordan Brand sponsoring them, all that stuff. But the head coach is a walking duck. So I don't think they're going to compete with Oklahoma necessarily a ton. Could be wrong, but I doubt it. Who fires who this next week? Huge. There's going to be coordinators, head coaches start to get in the next 7 to 8 days, like not this Sunday, but next Sunday, there'll be a bunch of firings. It's the end of the season and decisions. Some of it will trickle out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but we'll hear a lot about it next Sunday. So we're 8 days away. Then you'll start to have a better assembly with the coordinators, because all these guys are either friends with each other or connected to somebody that want to coach in this conference or that conference, blah, blah, blah. Those dots will be connected. Then it comes down to the money. Who wants to pay who? It's why coaching is so fascinating. You have so many subsets of points that lead somebody to Florida State or away from Florida State. It is insane. So again, don't forget about the money. It's very, very important. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, I really hope we don't lose a lot of these youngins. Wards knows the cavalry ain't coming. These kids are all we got. That's a great point. It really is a great point. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, you are on the money. The freshmen and sophomores are going to be the makeup of the team. Now, they're going to get some seniors in the portal, but you're going to see a sophomore and junior team next season. Very young team. I think they'll struggle to get to 500, but they'll be better. But if they lose a ton of those kids, that's a problem. And that's another reason today's game was so important, especially with the offensive guys. Finally get some catches, getting some more runs, seeing Cam Davis back in the game, Landon, Amari, everybody. Then on defense, yeah, guys making plays back there, Ashwin Barker, etc. All these guys getting reps. Quindarius, young player, he's sophomore. All those guys getting reps is huge. They feel like they're a part of something and they have a chance to change their legacy at Florida State by turning the program around because they know guys are leaving. Ventrell's gone. I'm pretty sure Azariah will leave from what I've heard. So like corners wide open. You got young DBs. You got something to compete for. Christian Lee. I didn't watch the game. Did DGU play at all? CBS Sports said he had a pass attempt. I didn't watch the very end of the game. I don't see it on the stats. I don't know if he did. I missed it. I was flipping around on the TV, but I'm not sure. Terry, Trevor Jackson not getting any playing time is an outright shame. No quarterback should feel safe in their position. And Norvell to lose DJU, then the competition between just Brock and Luke. They're going to bring in somebody else. They've got a quarterback coming in the high school ranks. They just got Kevin Sperry. They'll get a kid from the portal. They'll be okay for next year in that regard. Corey Hall. Norvell is going to get a new quarterback coach and keep calling plays. He wants verticals with the run game. We run nothing short, no mesh sticks, everything difficult. I don't know about everything, but part of it is a little harder than maybe some schools might run. But if you figure it out, that's also why you win. I can use it on the other side of the ball. If you remember back when I talked about Florida State preparing for Notre Dame, they run a super complex defense. The first year that Al Golden was at Notre Dame, there were problems. Either you work through that or you never get to an elite level. There is no, we don't have much playbook we know it all. You have to go through that. It's kind of like what Florida State's going through right now with their quarterbacks. They don't know diddly. You have to go through the reps. It sucks, but that's just the reality. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, what win total does Mike have to have next year to not get fired after 25? I don't know. Depends on how the games will look. They've got to show a lot of promise in recruiting or he's fired. I think that's number one. So it's not wins. Are you recruiting? And I want to be very, very, very clear about this. Is Florida State recruiting at an elite level? Not good, not above average, not really good, elite. Yes or no? There's no gray here. Are they trending towards like a top 5, top 7 class? Because they got playing time to sell. They're going to get some new coordinators and all that. If he doesn't do that, to me, he should be canned. Now, I don't know what his contract will be after next year, but I'm sure the Florida State brass want to do everything they can not to fire him because it's still going to be a massive buyout. Too bad you got to do it. If they go like 5-7, he's got to go. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way that I see it. Maybe I'm not going to be correct about that. But when I come back, I'll talk a little coaching news to kind of wrap up the show. That's next here on Locked on Seminoles. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a ball game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, here's something else that I want to say about the coaching stuff. I was happy to say that they found out a few different ways to work Luke into situations to make him comfortable. Just using that for offense. And the defense played harder today. They got him to play with effort. So for the guys still on staff, just want to give them some credit. I have no idea who or where the guys would be leaving, like when there's going to be more power. I think it's still very possible, but just wanted to mention that. If anybody wants to comment on that, have at it. But I give credit to the coaching staff today. The players are ready to play. I don't care if it was Charleston Southern, Prince of South Wales. It's a win, baby. That's from Mr. Kool-Aid Maker. That is true. Terry. Yeah, Trevor was an elite 11 quarterback. Yeah, but let's just overlook him. Corey Hall. This man cannot evaluate talent. Look how long it took him to play Jordan Travis. Leftover Gaming. I just hope to God the OC and DC they pick up is someone from the Power 5 and not a D2 team. You have to have guys with experience winning at the top level. That would be great. That would be magnificent, actually. It's very important that Florida State does that. Andre Buggs. FSU needs an opener like that next season before Alabama. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but that's a pretty good point. Next year's schedule, I don't know how that's going to work out. Things get moved around and things get changed all the time. I have no clue. Anything's possible. They could move that game to the fourth game of the year because both schools agree to it. Again, I have no clue. But obviously, Florida State is not equipped to play Alabama next season, barring something unforeseen from the portal. You never know. But right now, I'm looking at that like that's a 20-point game conservatively. That could be a 30 or 40-point game. Because Florida State is going to lose some more guys, got a really experienced roster. But that's college football, and that's why you just don't know. Did anybody really think that Arizona State was going to be really good this year? Yeah, they got a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game. Thought Arizona State would win 3 to 5 games. I didn't think Colorado would be bowl eligible, etc. Every season is different. So we'll see how that goes. Last parting shot here. If anybody else wants to comment, I'll be happy to take it. But last parting comment for me, as we get ready for Florida this next week, and we discuss all the things that have been going on with Florida State and the Florida rivalry and all that, just know that there's a lot of recruiting going on between these two schools. So no matter what happens, Florida State needs to not only play well, their fans need to be showing up and being crazy for the Noles and all that and be respectful. Going to be some recruits at the game, and Florida State needs all the help they can. So if you're going to Doak to see the Noles and Gators, I hope you remember that this is a very important time because recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. And Florida State right now just doesn't have the recruits they need to quickly turn this around, to say the least. But that can change. Just a couple of guys could really be a big difference to help get the 26 class started because you finished strong in 25. Anything is possible. So they just got Sperry, a kid I didn't even know was on the board. I'll talk about the backstory to him tomorrow, but let's just say that Florida State did its due diligence early in the process a long time ago, and it came back to help them later. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the chat. Thank you for those that stopped in today. Florida State gets the win 41-7 over Charleston Southern. That's awesome. If you have not already, please like and subscribe and share this channel. Want to get myself in front of as many Florida State fans as possible. And you can find me on X at FBScout_Florida. Everybody have a good one. I'll take care of myself here tonight, and I hope you all do too. Be safe.